Now, when was it in mortgage that you started really feeling like, okay, I'm crushing it, right? You mentioned 400,000 to 500,000 that you were making.
I mean, I don't know. It was probably 10 years in or something, maybe a little less. I mean, it's probably maybe even sooner than that. I mean, I remember I started getting awards, and I worked at Bank of America for a while, and I was the number one, local lender there.
Well, say that out loud. You were the number one lender for B of A. Locally, and I'm assuming that there were a ton of originators.
Well, I wasn't number one. I was number two. There's a guy named Devlin.
You know us guys. We're going to stretch it out. You always
well,
roll up.
But I did well. I was the guy. The manager would be like, "Let's have a meeting." And John, tell us how you're doing it, so everybody else can learn from. I was always kind of not always, but a lot of times in my career I was that guy. But
well, that's why you're here.
Did you ever? You asked that, and it's interesting because. Did you ever have a point in your career when you looked around and you made more money than you thought? You'd surpassed that 6 figures, and and you have the house, the family, the kids are healthy, a little bit of money in the bank, and you look around and go, wait, something is still wrong.
Mm-hmm. I think for me, that's every day.
Still every day.
Yeah, still every day,
wow.
Because I think that it comes with. It sounds like we're wired similarly, in the sense that I have to check myself at the door, and I'm not very good at this, where I go, dude, you have really everything that you could ever have imagined and more, and I'm still not satisfied, right? I'm not satisfied with myself. I'm not satisfied with how I treat my wife, even though I love her and respect her and treat her, I think, amazingly 90% of the time. It's the other 10% of the time that I'm not the best version of myself. In business, I'm the same way. With my kids, they're my everything, but I'm not the best dad I could be at all times. And so I think that, to answer your question, no, I'm far from it. And I struggle with that. And it sounds like you do a little bit as well.
I
do. You come to terms with it?
I think I've really come to terms with it. You asked the question, like, when did I feel successful? I mean, at that point where I had reached maybe the third level of success, first you want to get a house and make $100,000, right? And then it's like,
was that about checking boxes like earlier in life?
I was sitting in, my ex-wife and I had moved to Liberty Hill. We had 5 acres.
Okay.
We had horses.
Okay.
We had beautiful property. Had a pool.
Yeah.
Kids are happy.
And you were checking those boxes. You go.
I had all the boxes checked.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, beyond the really were originally I had all the boxes checked.
Okay.
And I remember sitting out, because I remember my wife and I were super disconnected at the time, my ex-wife, and she'd be in bed and I'd be up at like midnight and I'd be sitting next to the pool outside on 5 acres looking around. Beautiful. Just everything's beautiful.
Big skies, stars everywhere. Yeah.
And completely empty. And going
with a beer in your hand,
maybe,
or a cocktail.
Well, that was during that time where I was like, maybe I was trying not to drink. So, but yeah, I mean, it was like just completely empty. And it started me on this path, this kind of spiritual journey where I basically I had a therapist describe it to me, and I'm not prescribing this to anybody because it's. People can stay in that state and be happy and die, be fine, and everything's okay, and there's nothing's going wrong. But for me, I was like, this ain't it.
Yeah.
This ain't it.
Okay.
And I basically, the therapist used this word, like, blowing it up. I basically blew it up.
Okay.
You
just blew it all up.
I just unwound it all.
Okay.
I ended up, long story short, I got divorced, which divorced by.
How does that happen though, right? I mean, I know how it happened with, like, do you go to your wife and say, hey, this isn't working? Or does she come to you and go, John, I'm out?
We had a lot of conversations around that time, and we were in therapy, and it neither one of us wanted to make the calls, what it was.
Yeah.
And it's like we would do kind of like a little, I would go to a friend's house for a night or two, and then I'd come back. And like neither one of us, because it really was probably our focus on the kids.
Yeah.
You can't avoid a divorce having an impact on the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at the time we had I think my youngest daughter was two, I think. And she was kind of the light of our lives. And it was like, to imagine that, and again, I had the story that I was not going to be like my parents.
Yep.
So,
I remember that.
So it was a hard thing to get to. And finally I sit down and said, I had some great mentors, and kind of, I would call this one particular guy kind of a spiritual advisor, and he took me through a process, and
during that time.
And boy, we can get into stories about how I got there. But
And
I got to this place where I was really quiet with myself, and the message I got was, let her go.
Okay.
Let her go.
Yeah.
And what I realized is I was still holding on, still trying to hold it all together, and it wasn't helping her, and it wasn't helping me. And so, you know, I the next day or that night, I can't remember, but I would talk and say, I'm ready to get a divorce. And then it's funny because it gets a little personal, but she filed the next morning, so she was ready too. It was hard for either one of us.
Somebody just had to initiate it.
We just had to be. I had to, you know, we had to agree to be the bad guys.
Well, you know, a lot of guys, most guys will hold on, right, and see whether they're, you know, their perception is they're a great husband, great father, provider, what have you. Whether they're completely faithful, whether there's a ton of infidelity, whatever there is in between, right? Yeah. Women, from what I understand, right, once they've made the decision that they're done, they're done. And a lot of times something is happening in their lives where they go, okay, I can now transition, because, you know, if you're the caretaker, they need to feel like they're being taken care of, right, in one way or another.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's true. Like, and I had to get real clear with myself that I was trying to be this great husband, but I was done.
Yeah.
I really was done.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't able to deal with that reality.